Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely transform how you use Claude Code to maximize your operational ROI. We are moving way beyond that default out-of-the-box experience and architecting the ultimate .claude directory. Because let's be real, if you're just typing questions and pasting answers, you're leaving a massive competitive advantage for your business teams right on the table. Think about it. This quote perfectly captures the core issue. An unconfigured Claude Code is a single developer who's smart but has amnesia. If you find yourself treating this tool like a fancy autocomplete, constantly re-explaining your Dynamics 365 implementation steps or your AL code review checklist every single time you log in, you are doing manual labor that the AI should absolutely be handling for you. It's literally night and day, as you can see here. On the left, an unconfigured Claude is basically just a calculator. It's a generalist. It forgets your context the second you close the session. But look at the right side. A configured Claude, that's like orchestrating a highly powerful, automated spreadsheet. It transforms into a dedicated team of specialists with scalable institutional knowledge. That's what drives tangible operational ROI, allowing your teams to execute multi-step workflows without having to be told twice. So, here's our game plan today. First, we'll look at the Claude amnesia problem. Then, the foundation with core files. Third, modular guidance through rules. Fourth, action using hooks and commands. Fifth, unleashing specialists like skills and agents. And finally, team versus personal configuration.
All right, Section 1, the Claude amnesia problem and why casual setups just fail.
You know how it is. Early on, throwing every instruction into one file seems totally fine. But eventually, you hit a wall. Casual setups seriously limit your scale. Instructions become a total nightmare to maintain, and your automation scripts just sort of scatter randomly across your directory. But the absolute worst part? Your context window bloats. Say you ask Claude to research something, suddenly it's reading 40 files of Business Central API integrations. Your important implementation request just gets buried under a mountain of exploration noise. Basically, your .claude folder becomes a disorganized codebase. Moving on to Section 2, the foundation, core files, specifically guidance versus control. This is absolutely crucial. You have to separate guidance from control. Over on the left, you've got Claude.md. This is your guidance layer. It tells the AI what actually matters in the codebase, things like your tech stack, your main architecture, your high-level conventions. Then, sitting right next to it on the right is settings.json. This is your control layer, which, by the way, you should tightly align with your standard business process documentation. It actively shapes what Claude is allowed to do, like managing file permissions or triggering automated hooks. Splitting these two up answers the big questions first and keeps your top level beautifully clean. Section 3, modular guidance and the rules directory. Because let's face it, as your repo scales, stuffing every single convention into one massive Claude.md file becomes a huge bottleneck. Keep your main instructions lean. Set up a dedicated rules directory. You can create an alstandards.md file just for al code quality rules, or drop in an API patterns.md to explicitly document your standard patterns for Business Central API integrations. Doing this ensures those heavy API instructions don't crowd Claude's memory when it just needs to do some basic al scripting. Okay, Section 4, action, hooks and commands, which is all about turning rules into action. It is incredibly tempting to just go crazy with advanced extensions right out of the gate. But wait, before you build massive automations, you really have to ask yourself, when should a task just remain a simple, reusable command? The answer lies in how you separate your action files. For those lightweight, short, prompt-driven workflows, like a simple markdown file for reviewing pull requests, keep those in the commands folder. On the flip side, your automatic, event-driven scripts go into the hooks folder. So an automated script that runs al linting and formatting the second Claude edits an al file, that is a perfect fit for hooks. All right, Section 5, specialists, skills, and agents. Let's unleash the team. Now, this slide is super interesting because it shows how these 4 extension mechanisms map out. You aren't just picking one, they actually stack on top of each other. You start with skills, which act like a checklist for repeatable workflows. Then you bring in plugins, which is basically like installing tools from an app store. Next up, subagents. Think of them as isolated contractors you hire for heavy research so they don't pollute your main conversation. And finally, agent teams, an entire project team coordinating in parallel. This right here is exactly how you exponentially increase the operational ROI of your existing business teams. Let me give you a really practical example. Imagine a task skill you invoke just by typing /deploy. This can trigger a persistent deployment playbook for a Dynamics 365 environment. It runs the AL test suite, builds the app file, pushes it to the target sandbox, runs a quick smokes test, and then posts a summary. Boom! You write that markdown file exactly once, and you literally never have to type out that manual process or explain it to the AI ever again. And to give those skills actual superpowers, you want to install bundles from the official marketplace called plugins. If you install a language server protocol, like the AL language extension, it gives Claude automatic diagnostics. It literally sees and fixes AL type errors in the same turn without even running a compiler. Adding GitHub integrations for PR management or commit commands for one-click Git workflows right in your terminal, it takes maybe 2 minutes to install these, and the productivity boost is instant. But what about when you need deep, complex research? That is when you spin up a sub-agent. Let's say you need to optimize a notoriously slow Business Central API query. Instead of cluttering your main chat window, you spin up an isolated sub-agent. It goes off, analyzes the query, identifies missing keys, proposes AL code changes, and verifies the performance, all completely in the background. Then it simply reports back with a clean summary in your main window. It's brilliant. Finally, Section 6, Team versus Personal Configuration. Your .cloud folder is just so much easier to manage when you treat it as two totally separate layers. On one side, you have your project-level .cloud folder. You want to structure this to tightly align with your Dynamics 365 implementation standards, ensuring everyone inherits those shared API rules and security hooks. But for your individual habits, maybe a private SQL review skill or your personal article outlines, keep those isolated in your personal-level global home directory. You can even use local override files for machine-specific tweaks that you definitely don't want to commit to the shared repo. As we wrap up this architecture blueprint, I really want you to remember this quote. Efficiency doesn't come from having more folders. It comes from adding structure only when the workflow justifies it. Seriously, the biggest mistake you can make right now is creating a bunch of empty folders for agents and skills just because the feature's there. Don't do it. Start with your core files and let the actual daily complexity of your workflow earn the right to more structure. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to fire your amnesic developer and build a scalable AI team that drives massive operational ROI? Take a hard look at your Dynamics 365 setup today. Ask yourself, what is one recurring task I can encode into a skill right now? Go build that foundation, clean up those context windows, and just watch your business team's productivity absolutely soar. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy architecting.